Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, we're going to talk about friendship, and we're going to talk about Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. Alright, so I cannot recommend Puss in Boots, The Last Wish high enough. My youngest daughter, who's in college, asked to see it. We took the whole family, and it was fantastic. We had a fantastic time. And actually, it's a surprisingly deep film. 5 out of 5 stars. I cannot suggest the film enough. And I just wanted to let you know that you should really see it. And it has a deep message about friendship, and I'm going to discuss that. Spoilers for Puss in Boots: Last Wish, right here. Okay, let's go. So 2022 is finishing, right? So I'm incredibly blessed. I've been on a 10-day vacation at the end of 2022. I count my blessings. I'm so fortunate to be able to have 10 days in a row of vacation, and I'm really enjoying it. I eat what I want, do what I want, play the games I want, do a whole bunch of planning and setup and configuration for 2023 Dungeons & Dragons. My plan right now is that 2023 Dungeons & Dragons is going to be me creating a new tabletop role-playing game to understand Dungeons & Dragons better, and my attempt to defeat Gary Gygax at his own experience creation, right? So this is I'm taking the big swing. I want to beat Gary, right? I want to do it bigger and better, right? So this is my attempt, right? I may succeed or I may fail, but you could bet I'm going to swing, right? And so, and then also, as far as running Dungeons & Dragons, this whole year is dedicated to 1 hour Dungeons & Dragons. I really feel like I've created this. So this is my page 4 change, right? Like page 4 says the rules aren't in charge, you're in charge. And this is my set of rules that I am using page 4 direction for to set my specific table in place. And it is 1 hour Dungeons & Dragons. I plan to run it at FLGSs, I plan to run it at conventions, and I plan to structure it so that new people can drop in, and then if people want to continue to play in subsequent sessions, no session will ever be the same, right? So it's a continuing story where you can drop in, drop out, have a good time. It's accessible to new players, and it's accessible to veterans, right? So that's the plan. And I've done a lot of configuration, a lot of planning, a lot of structure, right? But during my 10-day vacation, I got hit, it was probably about 2 hours out of one day, and I just got hit with this deep blue malaise where I just had this deep sadness in me because of Dungeons & Dragons, right? Like a deep sadness in my life happened in 2022, and I lost 2 friends because of Dungeons & Dragons, right? I'm convinced it definitely would have never well, first of all, I never would have been friends with these people if it weren't for Dungeons & Dragons. And there's no question the start of our friendship, the continuation of our friendship, and the end of our friendship had everything to do with Dungeons & Dragons, right? And so, and just to be clear, so all that's in place, right? And I lost, and so I really had to also see what actually happened in 22. Why was I sad, right? And I was sad for 2 reasons. There were 2 friends that I deeply cared about, and I lost them this year because of Dungeons & Dragons. I also think this channel which is all about Dungeons & Dragons, was a huge part of why I lost these friends, right? And I was thinking about that, and I used to have a Sunday game, and on Sunday everybody would come over, right? And everybody would have a good, everybody would come over, and we would play Dungeons & Dragons every Sunday night, 6 to 10 p.m., right? 2 different 2-hour sessions. That doesn't happen anymore, right? And that could have continued, right? But when I lost these 2 specific friends, I was like, I'm going to let it fold. I'm going to let this social interaction explosion happen. Every player is going to, fly off into different directions, and I'm going to pick up my own pieces, right? And it was rough. It was rough. And this week in my 10-day vacation, I just had this deep blue malaise, just this deep time of sadness where I was mourning the loss of these friends, right? And also, I'm a man of reflection. I reflect on would I have done things differently, and that's where it gets strange, and that's why we're talking right now. So, here's where Puss in Boots really kind of put this friendship problem into perspective for me, right? Like what? Like, Puss in Boots helped you understand friendship? Yes, let's get into it. So Puss in Boots, fantastic film. Puss in Boots, he gets into a situation where he has used 8 of his 9 lives. So he has 1 life left, right? And he has been running this incredible life where he just is Puss in Boots and does his Puss in Boots thing and never stops, right? And just Puss in Boots it up. And there's actually a song in the movie that says, who is your favorite fearless hero? And it's him, right? And he's throughout it, Puss in Boots he lived this incredibly epic, dangerous life, right? Where everything he did was epic, and he did not do anything that other people did. He didn't do anything like anyone else did it. He stood alone in a field and he cried out something that no one else was crying out, and he did it every day, right? But in this movie, he gets to the point where he needs help, right? And he looks around and he has no friends, right? So in the film, they have Kitty Softpaws is friend, air quotes, wrong. She's not his friend. She is his lover, right? And they are old lovers, and they're probably going to be new lovers at the end of this movie, and they're never going to get married, but they're lovers. So there's no friendship there. I come from the Harry Met Sally school. Romance and friendships are 2 different types of relationships, right? And if you want to mix them together and think that they're the same thing, well, fine, go, be on your way. But I think they're very distinctly different, right? And so basically he has a lover, and then he has 1 friend. And I cannot recommend this movie to you enough. And the reason why is an actor by the name of Harvey Gillen. So in the film, he plays a character named Perito. And Perito is Puss in Boots' new friend, right? And Puss in Boots is this epic person. And Perito just attaches himself to Puss in Boots. And Puss in Boots pushes Perito away at every opportunity. He's like, I'm not your friend. I'm not going to be your friend. I don't want to be your friend. Beat it, Perito, right? And Perito means little dog in Spanish, right? And which isn't even a proper name. Perito doesn't have a proper name. And Perito is just kind of like this sad sack dog, right? And he just loves Puss in Boots and desperately wants to be his friend, right? And so all Puss in Boots has is this new person who wants to be his friend, and none of his old friends are there. Not Shrek, not Donkey, no one he knew was there. He has no friends. And at the end of the movie, death comes for him in the form of a wolf. And he has a reflection where he reflects on his life, and he realizes why he has no friends. He's like, I was a legend. I lived an epic life, and the legend was so big, there was no room for anyone else. And I realized that's exactly where I am, right? I pushed people out because I demanded Tier 1 Dungeons & Dragons, and I was a jerk about it every step of the way. And you know what? Puss in Boots, The Last Witch, says, you don't become a legend without being a jerk. You don't want to be a bad guy, you don't want to be a villain, but you will be a jerk, right? And I have seen this in Puss in Boots, and I also saw this in Michael Jordan's The Last Dance. There were lots of people who talked about him, and you know what they all said? To a man, right? And to a woman. But they either said it out loud, or they said it in a different way, right? And they all said it in different ways. Some of it was veiled, some of it was opaque. Or some of it was opaque, some of it was transparent. They were all like, Michael Jordan was a jerk, right? And the reality is, if you decide to dedicate yourself to one thing over the people who do that thing, I think you can reach legend status, right? And you can live an epic life, but you ain't gonna have friends at the end of it, except a Perito. Because you're legendary, there's always gonna be somebody willing to attach themselves to you, new, right? I saw myself in Puss in Boots. I saw it clear as day, right? And I was like, I made a choice. I made a choice to pursue Dungeons and Dragons at the highest possible level, and I was willing to break friendships to achieve it and to pursue it. And guess what? I'm calling you to do it, because you can go right and you can go left, and you will find a nonsense D&D commentator telling you that the pablum you're serving up is enough. No. Do better. Take Dungeons and Dragons farther. Break friendships over it. Pursue legend. It is worth it. All right? And I know it's odd for me to land here, because you might have thought this video would go somewhere else, but I'm telling you, basketball was worth it, right? And the state of the fairyland that Puss in Boots lives in was worth it, and D&D is worth it. It is okay for this world to have Michael Jordans, to have people attempting to be the Michael Jordan of Dungeons and Dragons, right? And if you think anybody escapes without breaking some friendships, I'm going to point you to Matthew Mercer, and I'm going to point you to Orion Accobbin. He abandoned that man. He broke that man. He broke that friendship for D&D. And that man lives with the savage, brutal repercussions of Matthew Mercer's D&D choices, right? You want to be a legend? Get ready to break some friendships. All that is my humble opinion. I'm ready and eager and asking to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.